Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vasudevaya. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'm very grateful to be here this morning on a very special occasion. Today is the appearance day of Advaita Acarya, who is the original namesake of our Advaita Acharya books together. If you look at the picture at the back wall right there, you will see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dressed in yellow garments, Nityananda Prabhu next to him dressed in blue garment, to his right, to our left, and to Nityananda Prabhu's left is Sri Advaita Acharya, and on the right, to our right, on the left of Mahaprabhu, we have Gadadhar Pandit, and to the extreme right we have Srivas Thakur. And every day before chanting every round, we meditate on these five personalities. And we are in a campus town. Sometimes, a long time back, I mentioned to our Shruti Sagar group that it was the wish of Bhaktivinoda Thakur to have a campus town in his birth site called Binagar. And we were joking that, there's so many pubs around here that if you call this place New Birnagar, it'll take a life of its own. But very close to Birnagar is a village called Shantipur. And in Bengali and Sanskrit, the word Shanti means peace. And Pur is a city of or a abode of. So the village, now it's a city, is known as the abode of peace, which is close to Mayapur, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born. And how many of you have ever been to Shantipur? Anybody here in this room? For those who haven't been there, Shantipur is a beautiful spot on planet Earth. It's filled with mango groves. You know what mango groves are like? Practically every 10 feet, there is a nice mango tree. And every other year, these mango trees bear very juicy fruits. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all of his companions used to go to those mango groves. And in the summer, there were so many mangoes. Even today, there are so many mangoes, people can finish them. They practically give those mangoes away free. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was present, he used to picnic there. And he said one time, Aka Malakar Ami. Can we look up that verse? Aka Malakar Ami. AKA, EKA, space MALAKAR. So Mahaprabhu said, in this huge garden, I am a lone gardener. And there are so many fruits. Aka Malakar Ami koto koto khabo, koto ibadi babo, koto badao. That verse. What I do. And so Mahaprabhu used to picnic there, and one day he said that I am a lone gardener and there are so many fruits. There is no way I can humanly distribute all of these fruits away. So I need helping hands. to take these mangoes and just give them to others for free. In this way, form chains of people who just take these mangoes and give them away. And one day this human chain will become so big that everyone around the world will get it. And right now, we are in a small village far, far away from Shantipur. But look at what we are doing today morning. We are doing kirtan. We are thinking about, meditating about the Panchatattva. So clearly, what Advaita Acharya planned about 500 years back, saying, Akala Malakar Ami, কত ফল খাবো? I'm a lone gardener. How many mangoes will I eat alone? If I do not distribute these fruits, what shall I do with them? How many fruits can I eat? Keep going. The next translation. By the transcendental desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this water has been sprinkled all over the tree. And then there are innumerable fruits of love of Godhead. So he was literally standing in the mango groves with lots of mango trees, eating mangoes, and they couldn't finish it. And Mahaprabhu said, how many can I eat alone? How many can I distribute? Please help. Right? And then he says, there are a few verses. Distribute this Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. Let people eat these fruits and ultimately become free from old age and death. And so that is the glory of the mangoes of Shantipur. And if you haven't had Indian mangoes, how many of you have had Indian mangoes? They're different from other mangoes you get here. They only come here to the US 1 week in a whole year, right? Last week of June. And if you have those mangoes, especially there is one variety that you get in this country, very close to Shantipur mangoes, called Alfonso, right? Try it out. Your life will change. And if you have the good fortune of going to Shantipur, trying those mangoes out, then you will probably go back to Godhead. And so Advaita Acharya was a very well-known professor. And let me ask you, who is the best-known professor in your mind? Like, if you think of professor, like when I think of professor, I think of Dr. Seuss. You know Dr. Seuss? Right? Or even, who's that old man in MIT, Noam Chomsky? He's always on YouTube, always screaming at people saying there is a military industrial complex that is destroying the world. Have you heard of this man? Old man, who's always scolding everybody. Advaita Acharya was a little bit like that. He had spent a whole lifetime teaching philosophy. He was a professor of philosophy. And he had friends. One friend was much, much younger to him, who was a professor of grammar and logic. You know what his name was? Yes, Vishwambar Mishra. And they had two other professor friends, Srivas Pandit, who is, you're a Pandit means you're a professor, and Gadadhar Pandit. Gadadhar Pandit was a professor of epics. And Srivas Pandit was another professor. They all knew Sanskrit. They were very well-educated people. They were teaching students. And according to the Mahabharata, anybody who is well-traveled is the most educated. So Nityananda Prabhu was practically homeschooled. Because when he was very young, one sadhu came and told Nityananda Prabhu's father that I want your son. And his father said, how can that be possible? And he said, I will take good care of him. He will come with me. He will travel to pilgrimages. And his father thought, if I don't give my son away, then something bad will happen. But if I give my son away, then I'll never see him again. And so with a broken heart, he let his son go. And for the next many years, Nityananda Prabhu traveled around India. And when he came back to Navadvip, although he had no formal education, he was not Nityananda Pandit, he was considered very well educated. And at that time, in Bengal, there was a regime change. You know what a regime change looks like? You know what a regime change looks like? Have you heard of the American Civil War? When somebody tried to change the way America works? Have you heard about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict going on right now? The Israeli government said, we want a regime change in Palestine. You know, there is a Ukraine-Russia war going on right now. Huh? Huh? The 2014 what? 2014. In Kiev. So regime changes are never easy. When your rulers are changing, when the government is changing, there is war, all the supply chains break down. People suffer. And so right before Mahaprabhu's birth, there was a regime change. And if you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll have the details. There was somebody called Subhuddhi Rai, who was the king. And somehow by trickery, he was removed from his position. And in those days, in India, the caste system was so strong. How many of you know what the caste system is? Something, okay. The caste system is the idea that the place of your birth and the family of your birth decides your worth. So if you are born in the wrong family, if you are born in the family of sweepers, right, or if you are born in the family of those who deal with dead bodies, that's it, your career is sealed. There is nothing else you can do in your life. Sri Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Chatur Varnam Maya Srishtam, the four castes are created by me. Guna Karma Vibhagash, that according to one's quality and one's activity. But there are some people who interpret the two words guna and karma in an unscrupulous way. They say because of your bad karma and your bad qualities, you are born in a low caste family. And therefore now you are stuck. So if you are born in a high caste family, then you have certain privileges. The son of a judge becomes a judge. The son of a king becomes a king. And mind you, it's a son, not a daughter. That's how the caste system works in its corrupt form. In its original form, the idea behind the caste system is that in any society, you have to divide labor up according to people's talents. There are some people who are naturally talented to be intellectuals, priests, thinkers. There are some people who are naturally talented in administration, in security. There are some people who are naturally talented in having businesses and supporting businesses. And in any society, there are naturally people who have unskilled labor, right? And then based on their talents, let them find something to do that will satisfy them so that they can focus on spiritual life. This is Varnashram. The moment there are some people who have certain privileges that come with their station in life, start saying that we are entitled to the privileges because of the family that we are born in. And the second thing they say is that labor has no dignity. The work you do, if it is seen to be a low quality kind of work that doesn't take any skill, then I have a right to disrespect you. That is the caste system. So in those days, the caste system was very strong. And Subudhi, who was a king, was removed from his position by trickery, and he was trying to get his caste back, because once you are kicked out of your caste group, you are casteless. You have nowhere to go. Nobody will feed you. Nobody will talk to you. Nobody will marry you. Nobody will have any interaction with you. You are a pariah. So Subudhi went to Benares, a place where all the Brahmanas used to sit and make rules and study Shastra, and said, I want to get my caste back. What can I do? They said, you know what they said? Anybody read this passage in the... Yes. Drink boiling ghee and commit suicide. And next life, you may be born back in your caste. Thankfully, Subudhi had some intelligence and said, no, sorry, I cannot do that. And he went to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he asked, what do I do? I'm useless, I'm hopeless, I'm lost. I used to be a king. I have no position in society now. I'm casteless. And Mahaprabhu said, just chant the holy names of Krishna and you will be redeemed. And that is how Subudhi got his hope back. So such was the situation during that time. Imagine a regime change is going on. Society is divided by caste rules like this. So that means if your neighbor is starving and they are the wrong caste, you won't even go and feed them. If a little child has become an orphan and they are the wrong caste, you won't pick them up. Such was the hopelessness into which Advaita Acharya found himself. And he was going crazy. So he had a little Shalagram Shila. You know what a Shalagram Shila is? If you don't, I can explain. How many of you don't know what a Shalagram Shila is? I will explain. But it's a deity of the Lord. And Advaita Acharya Prabhu used to worship the Lord in the form of the Shalagram Shila with Ganges water and Tulasi leaves. And he was so upset, he would sit and scream at his Shalagram Shila. Do something! Do something! This is unbearable. And you know, Navadvip was a major capital. It was a big city. But Shantipur was a place where only the tribal people, who are the lowest among the low castes, used to live. And during a war, who do you think are the most affected? So in that situation, Advaita Acharya gave up his elite company and walked right into the middle of the tribals and established his home there. And from there, the most important lesson we can learn is how the heart of a Vaishnava works. In the most difficult situation, the Vaishnavas always look out for those who are the most fallen and the most affected. Caste system is a system that makes your heart hard. Bhakti is the medicine to anyone's assumptions about their own entitlement or their sense of indignity towards others. And so Advaita Acharya was literally in the middle of tribals who are untouchables. You know what an untouchable is? In the caste system, if you step on the shadow of a person who is an untouchable, you have now become impure. Go to the Ganga, you dip there all day, then you might become pure. If you are touched by the grain of somebody who is an untouchable and people see it, you will lose your caste. You will be kicked out of your society. There was a great Indian politician Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, better known as Mahatma Gandhi. In those days, when Mahatma Gandhi left his home in Porbandar in Gujarat and came to London to study law, he had to go to the leaders of his caste community and publicly say, I am giving up my caste because anybody who crosses the ocean and leaves India, and it was called crossing the black waters, Kalapani. Anybody who crosses Kalapani has now lost their caste. Right? So the caste rules were very strict. And you see the bhakti movement that the Panchatattva, and there are many others across India, was the antidote to the problems that was there because of caste divisions, because of race divisions. Because, mind you, at this point in time, Advaita Acharya had a very good friend. You know what his name was? Somebody guess. He's not a part of Panchatattva. Haridas Thakur. Haridas was known as Yavan Haridas. Yavan means foreigner. But in that time, there was, the Turkish invasion of India had just happened. And so Yavan in those days meant Turkish. To be a foreigner in India where already Indian society is divided by caste is like a double whammy. So the Muslims told that, hey, you are already an outcast. You are half Hindu, half Turk. Nobody likes you. Right? There is a word, I'm not sure if it's a slang in the English language, mulatto. Have you heard of this? A Spanish word? Born of one parent who is black and one parent who is white. Imagine in the era of segregation in this country, already black people are in trouble. Right? To be a mixed, interracial marriage was illegal in America. In the 1960s, we are talking about 500 years back in India. Imagine, people freaked out. Excuse me. And at that time, you had somebody in Bengali society who was half Turk, half Hindu. It's totally unacceptable. But if you're born as that, what do? You have no way out. And the Advaita Acharya was somebody who is very well respected in society. His name is spread far and wide across India. And his best friend is somebody who is a social outcast, Haridas Thakur. The local judge told Haridas Thakur that, hey, if you just stick to the rules of Islam, then we will let you live. Otherwise, you don't deserve to live. And Haridas Thakur decided to follow his heart. It was a bad, bad, bad choice. Very bad choice. Because neither is he a part of Hindu society. And according to the strictest interpretation of the Shariat, you know what Shariat is? The law based on the Quran. If somebody becomes a Muslim, even by birth, and decide to leave, then they are called a murtad or a apostate. Apostate means somebody who has belonged to a religion and left. And according to the Quran, apostasy is punishable by death. So imagine the trouble that Haridas Thakur could have gotten himself into, and according to the law of Murphy, anything that is supposed to go wrong will go wrong, and things did go wrong. Because there is one scholar who said that Haridas Thakur in his early life got trained in the Sufi Chishti order. He was a Muslim, Yamana, trained as a Sufi. And in that particular order of Sufis, the most important practice is the incessant repetition of God's names with every breath. And Haridas Thakur, and that practice is called zikr. We call it japa. Haridas Thakur decided to do Krishna zikr. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare. Right? Imagine becoming a Muslim and then doing Krishna zikr actually makes you an apostate. And so the judge got him and said, keep, caning and lashing him till he's dead. And in those days, in Indian villages, they used to come together for market. You didn't have 24/7 markets open. You had the farmers and people coming on Thursdays and Saturdays and have a small village fair or a village market. And any public announcements and stuff used to happen there. So after the judgment was passed, Haridas was taken to the first market and whipped and whipped and whipped all day. He was a spectacle. Why is he getting whipped? Oh, he's an apostate. He has no loyalty. And you know what Haridas Thakur said while he was getting whipped? Khando khando hoy deho jaye jodi pran. Khando khando means small minced pieces. Hoy deho. May my body be cut into small minced pieces. Jaya jodi pran. Even if you take my life breath away. Tobuho bodone na charibo harinam. Even then, I will not give up chanting of the Hare Krishna Muhammad. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. The next marketplace, Haridas didn't dance, kept whipping him, whipping him, whipping him. In this way, 22 marketplaces like that. They just whipped him and he wouldn't die. And when one time he lost his consciousness, they picked his frail old body and threw it in the Ganga. Said, he's not a Muslim, he doesn't deserve a burial. And he's not a Hindu either, he doesn't deserve a cremation. He's trash, just throw him away. And so they put Haridas Thakur's body in the Ganga, and Haridas Thakur somehow didn't die, woke up, and he walked home, chanting the holy names. And Mahaprabhu embraced him and said, Haridas, I have not seen a devotee like you. And Haridas said, Mahaprabhu, actually, I did not feel a single whiplash. And Mahaprabhu said, you know why? Because I took them for you. Such was the relation between Mahaprabhu and Haridas Thakur. And such was also the relation between Advaita Acarya and Haridas Thakur. They were very good friends. So imagine somebody who is very highly stationed in society and somebody who is considered by the king as a non-entity who doesn't deserve to die have now become best friends through the introduction of another great personality known as Madhavendra Puri. Now, Madhavendra Puri was a radical revolutionary who was born in South India. But he heard that after the invasions of North India, all the places of pilgrimage, Ayodhya, Vrindavan, Dwarka, they've all been destroyed. The temples have been demolished. And in those days, they used to take the deities from the temples, break them into pieces, and put them under the staircase of mosques. And I'm not saying this to incite communal violence. I'm just saying what is there in history books. So that when people went to worship in a mosque, they would step over broken deities. And so the invaders who had come to India basically tried to tell the indigenous people that we walk over your broken gods. It's a very low tribal mentality. My God beats up your God. They used to do that. And so the pujaris who were slaughtered off buried some of the deities in these holy places, right, before they were killed. And so when Madhavendra Puri heard this, he said, how can you maintain Sanatan? You call it Sanatan Dharma, you call it eternal Dharma. You can't even get along with each other. What are you doing? So he bound together these kind of people like Haridas Thakur, Advaita Acharya, Ishwar Puri, who was the guru of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu. And he said, let us go and start digging the ground and unearthing these deities and re-establishing these temples and reinstating the places of pilgrimage. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas from home. This was one of the main reasons. He was going to Vrindavan, and on his way, he stopped at a village called Ramakeli. And in Ramkeli, the successor of Subhuddhi Rai, remember that king? That successor of Subhuddhi Rai was Hussain Shah, who was the emperor of the Shahi dynasty of Bengal. Said that this radical man has to be killed. So Mahaprabhu was there with millions of followers doing kirtan, surrounded that whole village. And the king said, this guy is dangerous. So in the middle of the night, he sent his finance minister and his chief minister, Dabir Khash and Shakar Mullik, and said, please warn them that if they do not stop the singing and dancing on the streets, I'm going to kill their leader. And so Dabir Khash and Shakar Mullik came to Haridas and Nityananda Prabhu and said, stop this, go back. Don't try to go to Vrindavan. Not this time. And you know what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did? This is called genius of the first order. Mahaprabhu said, yes, I will go back. But you are the chief minister and you are the finance minister. Please give up your government posts and join me. And they joined him. One of them joined. The king found out that one of them had escaped service, and so he arrested the other one, who was in jail, and he bribed the police and escaped. And Mahaprabhu named them Roop and Sanatan, the two first Goswamis. But all of this started because of one person's prayer. And that person is Sri Advaita Acharya. And the Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Adi Lila, first chapter, verse 15. Advaitam Harinadvaitat. You know the word Hari. This is 1:1:13. The word Hari, we say Hare Krishna. Hari means one who steals your heart. So Advaita